Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're still watching TVC News at 7, and we take you back to our lead story this hour regarding the U.S. attacks in Venezuela that led to the capture of the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Let's bring in now Global Affairs Analyst Ejike Okpa, who joins us from Texas, the United States, for his perspectives to this development. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Mr. Okpa. From what we've seen so far, and with the address by the U.S. President to the press earlier today, it does appear to the world, so to speak, that the future of Venezuela is now in the U.S.'s hands, or will I say President Trump. How do you see the development so far?
Hey, thank you for having me, and Happy New Year. It's one of those things that didn't just happen overnight. Trump had reached out to Maduro and said, hey, get out of here, resign. And then, of course, he said no and allowed his ego to get, beyond his reasonable senses. And, today or yesterday, he got captured. He's gone from being a president to a prisoner. I mean, I'm sure whatever detention cell he is, he's probably going to be saying to himself, how did I get here? These things are not by accident. I think when countries that overestimate their own capacity or their own ability to, stand up to foreign interest or power, engages in this, the cat and the mouse game, oftentimes we know who's going to end up being sorry for it. Venezuela, up until now, they were already president, wagging his finger at the U.S. and saying whatever he said. But look at it; it's very, very unfortunate. This is not the first time America did it. When Saddam Hussein was beating his chest and pointing guns, and at the end of the day, he was captured in a hole. And America set up, Paul Bremer at the time became the interim administrator for Iraq until such a time they handed it over. The same thing happened to Gaddafi. I think in 21st centuries, presidents of nations have to now be responsive and responsible to their own people and not to unnecessarily engage in an international, skirmishes like this, that at the end of the day, the entire country is embarrassed, the president is embarrassed. Everybody now that is president of a country is a native to that country. So focus on making your own people look good. Focus on addressing what their needs are as opposed to engaging a power that is bigger than yours.
Right. So in a sense, you're saying this operation of the United States in Venezuela, you're on all fours with it. You mentioned some examples, but what also stands out in this case with that of Gaddafi of Libya in the past is that these both Venezuela and Libya, they are both sitting leaders of their countries, so to speak, and then this is more like being seen as a foreign invasion. Are you saying you are in support of that?
Well, just to answer your question, yes, I am. There's what they call the manifest destiny. America has that. It's one of the M factors that gives America, the courage and the power to do what they do. The point I'm saying is that before this happened, there was a conversation that was, don't do this, don't do that. This is what we're going to do if you do that. My father used to tell me, my friend I told you is your friend. My friend I didn't tell you is not your friend. America has always warned these countries, don't do this. And then, of course, in their own exaggerated ego, with limited capacity, they always get on stage and say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Every country wants to be a neighbor, love thy neighbor as you love themselves. This is the Western Hemisphere. So when they come in and start, encouraging drugs to come into America because they think they can do it, we have to, as a nation, we have to protect our own citizens. And if we know the source of protecting our own citizens is to nip this kind of people or to teach them a lesson. Yes, I am about that. Right. Because again, we can learn lessons. We can learn lessons in this. Right. Again, be good to yourself, but also be very protective of your own citizens. Because now these Venezuelans are embarrassed. This is a big embarrassment because at the end of the day, his own military couldn't even put up a fight on his behalf.
All right. And then, so President Trump is promising that, Venezuela is going to be great again, so to speak. But then if you look at whether the U.S. has learned lessons from the aftermath of its attack that led to the death of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. How do you situate this within, the assurance that it will continue to run Venezuela until it is fit to run itself?
Well, again, if like we say in America or in Texas, is a dirty job, somebody has to do it. If somebody were to come into your home and remove the source of, pain for you, it's up to you that the person needs to step up and take responsibility. America is not going to be all over the world being a policeman. But if they choose to do what they do, oftentimes, yes, it may not go well for the people. But again, it is a lesson that I keep saying that nations have to hold their own leaders responsible. It doesn't have to come to this. You saw what happened in the case of Nigeria, where America came in and used a strike to do certain things. If Tinubu and his group were able to say, okay, hey, we can forestall this, we can nip this before it happens, it wouldn't happen. Nobody wants to go into a war. So the whole thing is the people hold your own leaders responsible. It's not about worshiping them and dancing with them and no. When they do certain things that is not good for the image of your own country, call them to order. And so, yes, Trump said they're going to do these things, and he did it. It's not like he woke up one day and said, let's go do it. He called Maduro, saying, you resign. You're doing these things. This is the intelligence we have on you. You better, shape up or shape out. And he started, beating his chest, dressing up with medals all over his chest. But at the end of the day, his own military didn't even put up a fight for him. So what does that tell him? It's not about the ego. Do you have the capacity to defend yourself when a foreign interest attacks you?
Mr. Ejike Okpa, we thank you very much for your contributions on TVC News.
Well, thank you for having me.
And very happy New Year to you, indeed.
Thank you.